When someone tells you you should believe in your dreams, and then someone tells you as a corporation you should invest in your employees' dreams, some people would think, are you serious? We're a business, we're not a charity. And someone has a different take on that, and that's why I invited him here today. Hello and welcome, Kevin Patrick.
Hi, Niels. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for taking the time. Can you get a bit can you get a bit more into the details of what is your approach of why do you tell corporations to invest in employees' dreams? Because most people will say, look, we're a business, your dream is your thing, we pay you a salary, and then you can make any dream come true, but that's not our job, or is it?
Sure. Yes, I can go into it. There's so it starts right with what I would say is a worldwide disengagement problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the number is somewhere in the 70 to 76% range,
Yeah.
right? So three out of every four employees in your company isn't working 8 hours a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So when you put it in perspective like that,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's kind of eye opening. Two, um, turnover is very expensive, right?
That's true.
Very, very expensive. And then um, losing tribal knowledge. So, right, in my day-to-day business, I work with ERP, right? So we currently installing Acumatica around the
Mm-hmm.
country. I was in the SAP ecosystem for 15, 20 years. And right, ERP gets a bad rap, right? It
Yeah.
gets, they're
No one's
expensive.
waiting for you. No one's. I mean,
They
when we got into touch, and I just read you have to invest in people dreams. I just thought this is going to be some esoterical stuff, and then I looked at your CV, CFO, COO, leading in different positions, SAP consulting, which is extremely hard because let's face it, no one's waiting for an SAP consultant to come along. They all know it means lots of work, and it's hardly any benefit in the first place. So you know how the business works. You've been
yeah,
there. You've done that. How
both
do you come
sides.
to? Yeah, exactly. And especially when it comes to disengagement in tech in tech projects, where do you think this comes from?
Well, where the disengagement comes from, I think is just not. I think I kind of know because I've seen it for close to 30 years. It comes from decisions being made in boardrooms or conference rooms without any consideration or discussion with the people doing the job, right? So a typical example would be, we go in, we do all the pleasantries, we sit down and do discovery, and at some point in that conversation, I'm going to say, hey, can we take a walk on the floor? I want to talk to the department lead, like, right, not the department head, the person doing the work. I want to talk to the production coordinator. I want to talk to the inventory specialist. Like, I want to talk to the people who are going to be touching this system day in and day out, not just waiting basically for reports from it. Um, so what happens is a very large percentage of the time, all of the decisions around the ERP and the workflow and the way it's going to work are designed in these conference rooms. And then one day, very close to go live, people come, the consultants come down, the management comes down and says, "Hey, we're changing all the systems, right? Your job is now not to do this, it's to do this." And
Mm-hmm.
essentially, what you just told your employee is you don't care about them. Your opinion doesn't matter. It has no weight into how we drive our business. And I think anybody that's been in a leadership position for long enough knows you can't do anything without your people, right? Your people
That's
need
true.
to be on board.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
um, yeah. So, that's where I think the disengagement comes from, or at least part of it, right? I mean,
Mm,
the other part of it is life is lifing all the time, right? People have things going on, right? Whether their parents are sick, they're sick, child sick, got in a car accident. I mean, you name it, like life is just happening.
mm,
So, you know, what when they're sitting at work and they're worried about their child who is in some sort of, distress, um, they're not thinking about work. They're thinking about how to get their child out of trouble, or out of this state of distress. So I noticed that there was a disengagement problem very early in my career, just
mm-hmm.
based on the fact that I dropped out of college, right? I did. I partied too hard. I dropped
Okay.
out of college. I went to work on a factory floor, and within about 6 months, right, they plucked me off the floor and put me on the fast track to management. They were like, "Hey, this kid has a head on his shoulders, and let's rock and roll."
I saw that,
So
yes. You became director of operations pretty quickly after you basically started working. So that is
pretty
pretty,
quickly, yeah,
yeah,
within a year or two,
yeah, yeah, which
yeah,
especially in the US, I think is unusual, especially many HR departments will ask, so where did you study? Where's your degree? And you made it without all of that.
correct, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a couple of the senior managers who really liked me and kind of
Hmm.
lobbied for me.
Well,
So
they
it was
probably lobbied for you because you did your job very well. They didn't lobby for you just because you had a nice face or they just liked your jokes.
Yeah, I was very fortunate.
Yeah.
I owe those folks my whole career, like plain and simple. Um, so there's fast forward, right? 20 years. Well, like we don't have time to talk about all of it. Fast forward 20 years. I'm now in the ERP space, right? Like I was on the other side of the
Hmm.
table on operations and financial management. And I always found myself in positions where a company was going through an ERP implementation. Like it just became my thing. Like I was the change agent guy, right? Like I would go
Mm.
in and help and facilitate companies through those changes. Well, in 2014, my my SAP partner said to me at the time, "Hey, have you ever considered getting into consulting? Because you're really very good at it." And
Hmm.
I was like, "No, like I'm kind of at the like I'm the chief operating officer. Like I'm kind of as but like I'm right below the highest you can go."
Yeah.
Um, so no, I'm not. I haven't considered a career change. You know, um, then we talked about it. Me and my wife and I, we just had kids. The factory floor work schedule is brutal, right?
Mm.
It's not a 9 to 5 gig. It doesn't
Yeah.
leave a lot of time and forgiveness for family and children and that sort of stuff. So we said, you know what? Let's do it. So we moved from Boca Raton, Florida, up here to St. Augustine. And, fast forward through a couple years on the consulting side of the table, I ran into this book called The Dream Manager,
Hmm.
written by a gentleman named Matthew Kelly, right? So, as you said, um, first thought, fluff piece, right? Like,
Yeah.
what is this? Like,
Hmm.
it was just my first thought, and it's not something that I found. What's great about this story is I interviewed a gentleman who was all gung ho about it, right? He had just gotten a certification. He was ready. He was preaching it to me. And I was like, no
Mm.
way. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And absolutely not. So I passed on him. Well, he then went to my previous employer and launched the program there. And I just noticed, right? I mean, I keep in touch with people, colleagues. Um, he did a very good job, and their turnover dropped, their engagement and efficiency went up, their CSAT and NPS with customers and employees went up. And I was like, huh. So
Mm.
I read the book. I'm lying. I listened to the book on an airplane via Audible, and I was blown away. I mean, it's a fairly easy read, but basically the gist of the conversation is, look, if your employees don't think you care about you, you care about them, why would they or should they put anything extra into the business? Now, flip the script on that. If you have a person that, they want to, I'm not even going to say go to school because that's pretty cliche, but right, the dream manager talks to the employee and says, hey, what's on your bucket list? What do you want to do?
Mm.
Right. So you're in Berlin now, right? Where I'm an American, and my response is, I'd love to travel Europe. Right. Okay. Um, then we basically lead them down a list of questions, right? Like, okay, when? I don't know. Okay, do you know how much this is going to cost? No. Okay. So
Hmm.
before before we can do anything, you need to go and do some homework. And while you're at it, figure out how much disposable income you have right now. And then we can start to put a plan in place that looks like that is realistic to get you to that place.
Hmm.
Right. And that's just one example. But the point being, what happens is when that person realizes that the company is fully engaged with them, right? And they're really looking for the best output for them as individuals, the return on that investment is, I mean, I've seen numbers in the 300 to 400 to 450%
Wow, that is
return.
a lot. Yes.
Yeah, return on investment, right? So that's what I usually say to people. When you go to, if I were to go to you as a business person and just say, hey, give me $100,000 in 18 months, I'll give you a 400% return.
Yeah, probably I would say I don't believe that this is going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But
But when
it,
it
it
happens, I would be pretty impressed. Yeah.
pretty impressed.
Yeah.
Right. So it's, you know, there's, I can, I can break down those barriers in conversation pretty easily, like
Hmm.
specifically in the consulting world, right? So if you have a turnover ratio of 40% and that 40% equals 10 people, right? And 10 people, to replace 10 people through a recruiter at
Yeah.
$30,000 a pop,
Yeah.
right? That's 30 grand or
Yeah, yeah,
300
yeah,
grand.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah,
There's $300,000 to
yeah.
replace those people. And that is just the
That doesn't include
finder's
onboarding them,
fee.
and maybe someone doesn't make the cut, someone's not a cultural fit, someone just walks out, or whatever else can happen. That is only the get the people through the door fee.
Yeah, let me find the people.
Yeah.
So it goes when when you put it in terms like that to a business owner or manager, they're like, huh. Like,
Mm,
and what you have to explain to them is like, look, this isn't an HR program, right? This is you're doing one of two things. You're either certifying somebody internally, and this is like a standalone project, everything
mm-hmm,
is kept confidential, or you're bringing in a fractional person, which is somebody like myself.
mm-hmm.
Um, and that the power of that in sitting down, because we have a whole playbook, right, to take them through the
Yeah.
process.
So you come in every
Um,
couple of days, weeks. How does that specifically work?
so
How?
you're usually meeting with each individual once a month. It's a 12
Mm-hmm,
month program,
mm-hmm.
right? Because there's 12 areas of life that you're addressing, right? Physical, emotional, spiritual,
Yeah,
intellectual, yada, yada, yada.
yeah.
And you're addressing each one of those kind of month to month. And while you're doing that, you're addressing the dream scenarios too, like
Mm-hmm.
the things that are on their bucket lists and stuff like that. Um, Typically starts out as a pilot, right? I mean, company's not gonna go and dump a outrageous amount of money
Yeah.
out front, right? So you pick whatever, one person, five people, 10 people, whatever a company's comfortable with. And what they inevitably find is it works.
Mm. How
Works.
come that so many organizations overlook this fact and simply say, look, we got a contract, you get a salary, you do the work, we're all happily ever after. How come that so many companies overlook this fact that you need to do more than that?
Well, I would say that's, I don't want to sound too harsh, but I probably will. So
I'm
that's
okay
the
with that. I'm
old,
German, so you can't be
yeah,
too harsh.
so that's the old thinking, right?
Yeah.
That's the lie. That's the lie and we all still believe it. I'm going to give you a salary. You give me your life
Mm,
from X to Y time
yeah.
and beyond if I call you.
Yeah.
So, you know, how do people overlook it? I think look, there's been buzz, you have the buzzwords, right? Employee engagement,
Mm-hmm.
those types of things where employers are trying to do the right thing, but it is all of those things that happen have a direct relation to a positive impact on the employer. It's not in the best interest of the employee, right? The Dream Manager program takes a completely different approach, right? Instead of asking, what can we get out of our people, right? It's the question should be, what can we put into our people to make them basically the best version of themselves?
Mm.
Is basically what it comes down to. And yeah, sure. It
Yeah.
I get it. It sounds fluffy, right? Like I get it. But when you see however long later, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, whatever, um, when you see that turnover has dropped, recruiting costs have gone down, customer satisfaction has gone up, employee satisfaction has gone up, you're going to say,
That was an investment
shit.
worthwhile. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So to wrap this interview up, when people now say, hey, I think I should at least have a chat with you or maybe even bring you in directly, how can people get in touch with you?
Sure. So I appreciate it. So first I would say just to explore, right? Go read or listen to the Dream Manager book, right? I can't take credit for this program. I'm just a certified dream manager. So I would say start there. See if it's something that piques your interest.
Hmm.
And then from there, um, I have a podcast of my own called The Dream Dividend, and it walks through real life, real stories and examples and scenarios of how this is practically done. Um, and then beyond that, my company is called Trinity One Consulting. So you look at the Dream Dividend as the podcast and say Trinity One Consulting, it's just called as the publication company, right? Or the distribution company. But that's the business,
Yeah.
right? Where we go in and consult. And, I've identified this little niche that says if I can thread that needle of disengagement around ERP and the Dream Manager program, we're going to see a lot more success on the ERP side.
I think these are
So,
the perfect final words. So when you now say, hey, I think we need to do something, especially regarding tech projects, we have someone who was in the field, worked his way up, been there, done that, speaks from first-hand experience, and is a certified dream manager. So at the end of this podcast, there's only one thing left for me to say. Kevin, thank you very much for your
I
time.
appreciate it, Niels. Thanks.